So basically our academic year is divided into 2 semesters. Each semester is roughly around 3 months. So we start in October and we have the closing of our first semester we have a Christmas recess in December, and then in January we have our first semester examinations. So in January, with the first semester examinations, we close semester 1. And in mid-February, after all the first semester examinations are complete, we start semester 2. Then we have an Easter break in April, and between between May and June, our students start preparing for the semester 2 examinations, which are generally concluded in June.
By mid-June we finish basically.
Exactly, and that closes semester 2. Between the end of June and September is normally our summer recess. Now, some master programs,
especially the full-time ones,
especially as full-time master's programs, especially those which are advertised as 3-semester programs, they may use the summer semester, but that is dependent on the respective faculty and on how the faculty decides to structure the courses for that particular year. Also, masters by research are somewhat more flexible and they may include a summer semester, reason being that fully by research master programs will only have around 2 or 3 taught study units, which would be lecture-based, and the rest of the program will be based on your research and you compiling your dissertation, and you will only have interval meetings with your tutor to discuss your dissertation throughout the year. So it's not like you will be required to attend lessons on a daily basis.
In fact, most of the by-research postgraduate programs will only include maybe 5 or 10 credits out of the 90 credits, which will be study units.
Exactly.
The rest of it will be dissertation, really.
Exactly.
So the classes are very limited.
Very limited.
They're limited to 1 semester at most.
Exactly, and mostly during the summer, it would be more you consulting with your tutor during a tutorial or maybe an informal meeting or via email. So by-research programs may use the summer semester, but it's very subjective, and using the summer semester may mean just a couple of meetings online or in person with your tutor. The other programs which may use the summer semester may involve a number of lectures during summer, especially programs which are very short and specialized. But again, as I said, it much depends on the faculty offering the course, and normally the faculty will inform you if they will be using the summer semester upon commencement of the course. Having said that, our standard master's programs, especially those which grant a warrant, such as the Master of Accountancy, our MBA, I don't think the MBA has a summer period, no. Our Master of Psychology programs.
Those are the full-time ones, which are 3 semesters. Some of them will be taught as well. It's not only the by-research ones.
Exactly.
Because the by-research will still, the taught ones might still have a dissertation component, but it will be much smaller. And sometimes it's done over summer. Let's say you'd have to submit in September. Basically.
Exactly. Our standard full-time master's programs may not use the summer semester. Even so, our part-time programs, those will, I don't think they ever use the summer semester, because they would already be...
Sometimes they might in the second year, because part-time programs tend to take over 2 years, and there might be 5 semesters.
Exactly.
It will be 2 semesters and 3 semesters.
Exactly. The summer period would also be used by students who ask for extensions in relation to their dissertation, because instead of submitting their dissertation in June, they would ask for an extension and normally submit it by September. But again, that is mostly case by case. So for you to keep in mind, our standard academic year includes 2 semesters, and it goes on between October and June. That is the academic year. And semester 2 starts in February. Okay.
Someone was asking about the police conduct certificate. Basically, how old can the police conduct certificate be?
It should not be more it should be issued not more than 6 months before the commencement of the course. So in October, it should still be valid. It should not expire in October, okay? So make sure that you have it issued at least only 6 months before October.
But something similar to this actually is the English language certificates, which also have a sort of deadline. Perhaps we can
sure. So for those of you who are looking to apply for an English proficiency test, it's important to know that we are currently accepting only 3. Sorry guys, I'm realizing that I forgot to go into the English requirements page, but we'll share it with you. Actually,
perhaps
I can go.
Perhaps we can do it now.
Let me go back.
I'll share the link in the chat.
Just a second. So let me go here. So these are our English language requirements. Very important. Right now, our university is only accepting 3 types of English proficiency tests, which are the TOEFL IBT, the academic IELTS, and the Cambridge Advanced Certificate. Now, in terms of availability, the TOEFL and academic IELTS are easier to take in the sense that they are offered regularly, on a 2-weekly basis, if I'm not wrong, and they are also offered online. So they are easier to sit for. However, they are valid for only 2 years from the date. So they are valid for only 2 years. So if you want to use them for your application, they need to still be valid in October 2023.
Yeah, they would have to have been published in October 2021.
Exactly.
At the very latest, yeah.
However, the Cambridge, while it's more difficult to sit for it because it's offered less frequently, it remains valid and it does not expire, okay? Because it's very much similar to the IGCSE level exams, which do not expire. But it has different test dates and it is not available to take online, okay? But if you're taking the TOEFL IBT or the academic IELTS, keep in mind that they expire within 2 years. So you cannot basically apply with a TOEFL IBT or academic IELTS test, which was issued in 2020 or which was issued before October 2021. Having said that, if you scroll down on this page, you can read about some exemptions. So if you have a degree awarded in a recognized institution, awarded by a recognized institution based in one of these countries, we can use said degree instead of an English proficiency test. Also, we do sometimes consider your results in English language from your high school diplomas to fulfill our English requirements, but they are very much subjective.
I've been showing the German Abitur.
Yes, for example, for those of you who have the German Abitur, if you have a final written pass in English at grade 10, very important, it has to be a final written pass at grade 10 in English. We can accept that in lieu of an English proficiency test, okay? For example, let's visit another country. Denmark is the same. So if you have a grade 7 or better in English, a final level exam, okay, at grade 7 in English in one of these diplomas, we can accept it in lieu of an English test. So do check your country in our list. If there is no reference to exemption from an English proficiency test in your country, it may be because we cannot use your high school diploma to exempt you from an English test, but it may also be that we need to check. So do send us an email with a copy of your qualification and we can check for you. For those of you who have qualifications such as the West African Senior School Certificate, which applies to our Nigerian and Ghanaian friends, mostly because that is where we get most of our queries from. If you have a C5 or better in English language in the West African Senior School Certificate, that can be accepted in lieu of an English test. Now, keep in mind, guys, the grades that we are giving you are the minimum grades that we can accept. So please appreciate that any grades which are
Nothing below.
lower than these cannot be accepted in lieu of an English test. Okay. I also wanted to mention South Africa. South Africa is the same. If you get a mark of 4 or better in English language in the National Senior Certificate or IEB National Senior Certificate, we can accept that in lieu of an English test. Again, a lesser grade will not be considered. The same issue with grades applies to our English proficiency certificate grades. Let me go back. So keep in mind, as you can see here, we are structuring the minimum grades that you need to achieve by the level of the course that you're applying for. So you have grades for foundation level programs, grades for undergraduate bachelor degree level, and grades for master, PG, doctoral level. These are the minimum grades that you can obtain. You need to obtain both the overall and individual grades as they are stipulated on our page. Any grades which do not comply with these requirements cannot be accepted. And if you get even a 0.5 or a couple of points lower than required, we will ask you to retake the CELT test, whichever test it may be.
On this point, is someone's asking whether the computer-based Cambridge certificate is valid or not. I believe, unless it's Cambridge Advanced.
It has to be the Cambridge Advanced certificate, as if they are offering the Cambridge Advanced certificate as an online version, I can check for you, because it's not something that we normally, we've never had an online Cambridge certificate, to be honest. So if you want, you can send us more information by email and we will answer your query via email. Very important, guys. Ideally, as with all other qualifications, you apply with an English proficiency test which fulfills our requirements. But if you are still planning to take the test, you can submit the results as soon as possible, and if possible, by not later than the end of August. If you cannot find a test date by the end of August, the latest that we can accept an English test is the end of September. However, keep in mind that the more we have to wait for a qualification, the more you have to wait for an answer. So before we receive all the qualifications that we need from you, we cannot issue an unconditional letter of acceptance. And in some cases, this may affect your ability to apply for a visa, depending on where you are coming from. So ideally, please always try to fulfill all our requirements as soon as possible, because this will help us to issue a letter as soon as possible, and it may help you more with the process to make arrangements to come to Malta. So those were the English requirements, and we'll be sharing them with you later on. More questions?
So,
if I can reiterate something regarding decisions, as I said, decisions normally are communicated within 10 weeks from the application date. In some cases, the feedback turnaround time can be more, can be longer, depending on the case, because some applications may take longer to review than others. Our admissions team will do their best to give you an answer as soon as it is possible to do so.
So someone's asking, in their case, they have local qualifications, but are international. Will they get their acceptance letter via email or only post? Our acceptance letters
by post.
If they're local.
If you applied, if you selected the local qualifications option in the application form, you should expect to receive a letter by post.
Whereas those of you that applied on international qualifications will receive everything by email.
Exactly. It's very important that in your application you always input a correct email address, or the email address that you use on a daily basis, and that you also input a correct postal address, because all communication, be it by post or by email, will be communicated via those addresses.
So someone's asking, it's an interesting question actually. Would the BA degree in Latin, which is the traditional way a BA degree is presented, would it require an official translation?
Yes.
I suppose that aside from the BA degree itself, you would also have a transcript, which hopefully is already in English, but if it is not, ideally do translate both the degree and the transcript in English. Do have them translated in English. Fortunately, we don't have lots of classicists on the admissions board. So.
Well, we would have, but the admissions team
they cannot do directly from.
If we were to work like that, our admissions team would be multilingual, like 100 languages.
Usually the BA degree might even have an English version if it's a lot of universities do provide it. They do provide it in Latin. They provide it in an English or in your national language as well.
Exactly.
So you might want to get that one translated.
Exactly. Going back to the English requirements, for those of you who are, for example, US nationals, because we have a question from a US national, if you are a US national, you would also need to have qualifications awarded in the US in order for us to be able to exempt you from an English proficiency test.
Second language as well. Perhaps you can get to the because someone was asking about.
Yes, we'll go into that.
Yes.
So with regard specifically to the English requirements, if you have an undergraduate degree awarded by a recognized institution in the United States, or if you have an American high school diploma with a good grade in English in your final year, grade 12, we can consider that in lieu of an English proficiency test. However, if you have an American passport but studied in Italy, we cannot exempt you from the English test. You need to provide your academic proof of your English proficiency. I hope that answered your question.
Perhaps we can discuss accommodation a bit, because I have a number of questions about accommodation.
Sure.
We can refer to this
before that, I'll just cover a couple of questions, and then we'll explore accommodation in more detail.
I'll answer this question in the meantime, but we will be discussing this in more detail, because it's something we will get.
Exactly. For those of you who are asking about assessment at university, this very much depends on the course that you are applying for. However, our standard assessment involves examinations, which are held every semester. Examinations can be written, they can be multiple choice, and they can be oral. And for each study unit, you can have varying assessments. You could have an assignment instead of an exam. You could have an assignment and a presentation. You could have a presentation and an exam. So they can vary, okay? This very much depends on your faculty. However, if you look for the course that you are interested in through our course finder, as we discussed earlier on in the presentation, you can look up the program of studies. And in the program of studies, you have the assessment methods for each study unit. I can't go into it a lot right now because we have a lot of questions, but basically in the program of study, you can select each subject, and for each subject, you will be able to view the method of assessment. Yes. You will also have a reading list and so on. You will also have the name of your lectures, so it's very detailed and very comprehensive.
Let me share the course finder link, actually, because it's a very useful tool. For those of you that would like to check while we're discussing these things. So if you find your program here on the course finder, just sharing it now, you'll be able to click on the relative program, and you'll find all the course details, basically, all the program details.
So for the person who's asking about transfers, transferring your credits is, yes, you can apply for a transfer. You do so by submitting a regular application for the course that meets your interest, and by submitting a detailed transcript of studies from your home university. Even if it was an if it is an online program, you can submit detailed transcripts of studies for the course that you are currently following, and you will need to indicate that you are applying for a transfer of studies in the application form. The application form includes a note section at the very end of the form, and in this note section, you can indicate your wish to transfer your credits. The request and your transcripts would be assessed on a case-by-case basis by the faculty offering the selected course, and the faculty will decide if you are eligible for a transfer after they receive your application. Okay. Okay, we can go into housing.
Yes, we could get into. I fear we'll have to go back out of accommodation soon because we have quite a lot of questions.
Let me see a bit.
Someone's asking about the European politics, economic and law for 2024. It's still a bit early to determine whether it will be offered or not.
We can check for you if it's in the list of courses, but if it's actually
but this is for 2024. So in reality,
it's too early.
It would be opening the applications for that would be opening around November of this year. So what we can do is if you contact us towards November, towards the end of this year, of this calendar year, we can check exactly whether it will be offered or not. And most likelihood it would be offered because it's offered in both in February intake and in October. However, keep in mind that it's not exactly for the summer semester of 2024. It would be starting in February, I believe. But in any case, if you have any doubts, just send us an email on interadmissions@um.edu.mt, Denise, and we will double check with you for you with the faculty.
Exactly. There is a student who's asking if we have any entrance examinations as part of the application process. Not all faculties have an admissions exam. But there are some courses, for example, the nursing programs, which would require you to sit for a test as part of the admissions process. And also our foundation school, which offers our foundation studies programs, will always ask applicants to attend an interview and to participate in a test, which is designed by the foundation school. So those are the two that come to mind. For those of you interested in the Bachelor of Dance Studies program, you will have to pass an audition with our performing arts school as well. And as I said before, those of you who are interested in our digital and fine arts programs, you will need to provide a portfolio of your works. But other than that, our other courses do not require an admissions exam. For those of you who are over 23 years of age and who may be applying as adult learners under our maturity clause, which is specifically designed for applicants who have more work experience rather than academic qualifications related to their preferred course of studies, such applicants may be required to pass an interview with the faculty, but these applications are assessed on a case-by-case basis, and not all applicants will have to go through this process. If interested in finding out more about our maturity clause, which is specifically intended for students over 23 years of age, you can email us more about your situation and we'll answer you accordingly. That's done. For those of you who are applying for master's programs and are normally our faculties require that your degree be related to the master's program that you are applying for. However, having said that, most faculties have very open entry requirements in the sense that they do not necessarily specify a specific area that they are looking for. And normally the bylaws would state that they are requesting a bachelor degree that the Board of Studies deems suitable. So that leaves the entry requirements quite open, and it means that you can apply with your degree even if you are not sure that it is relevant to the master's program that you are applying for. Your application would then be assessed on a case-by-case basis, and the faculty will determine its relevance and your capability to follow the course with profit after you apply. What next? How many questions?
Yes, we have quite a big group today.
So for the person who's asking about the MA by Research in Classics or International Relations, you can apply now. And right now the applications are open for the October 2023 intake. If you apply after September, you would be applying for the February intake. Also, applications received right now will be used also for if I'm not mistaken, for our June intake. So even if you apply now, there is a possibility, a very slight possibility, because assessment can take longer, a very slight possibility to join our summer period for master's programs. But if not, you would join our October 2023 intake. And if you're not interested in that, you can then apply in November and join our February intake. Okay, some applications for the February intake may also be transferred to commencement in April or June. Okay, I hope that answers your question. If you want to know more about this, you can send us an email.
So someone asking about when the exam sessions are held over the year. This is something we already discussed. Perhaps I can just re-explain this very quickly. The year is generally split into 2 semesters. The examination periods are for the first semester are between mid to late January till beginning of February. And then in June for the first couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks of June usually.
Exactly.
But that's it. Some study units will be covered only in 1 semester. Some study units will be covered over a whole year, over 2 semesters, and therefore the exams will be the ones in June. That's it really. Then we have a September session, but that is for those of you that would be retaking an examination, for example, or having missed your first opportunity in January or in June. But that's it. That's basic structure.
Exactly. There's someone who's asking about how to apply for a TOEFL test. We can share the link with you, but if you Google home-based TOEFL IBT test, the TOEFL homepage basically will give you information about taking the test at home. If this is not something that you wish to do, the test is offered internationally, and you can reach out to your local English teaching providers. There should be a TOEFL test provider in most countries, and you can register with an English teaching school to sit for your test. But normally we recommend that you search for the TOEFL IBT home-based version online. For the person who's asking about the minimal level of English required for entry into bachelor level courses, the levels are stipulated on our English language requirements page that is available in the chat. And also in the presentation. There's also someone who's asking if they can join a master's program in mid-November. If it's not a Milibari research program, regretfully not. The reason is that, as we were saying, our semesters are very structured in the sense that they start in October, and by January you would have exams for the first semester. If you join in mid-November, you would already have missed a month and a half of lectures, and not all faculties accept this. Actually, most do not, because it would put you at a disadvantage, and it means that you would have missed already the first assessment methods for a number of study units, because by the first month, most lecturers would have assigned you assignments or presentation work to be done for your respective study units. So no, unfortunately, you would not be able to join a course in mid-November if the course starts in October. So let me see what we can. For those of you who may be experiencing some issues with the application, especially at payment stage, please send us an email on our email address with a screenshot of the error that you are receiving, and also quoting your application reference number, and we will help you out after checking our system. So let's see what else we can answer.
Some persons asking about the turnover rate of the decisions, basically when they should expect a decision. As you said,
10 weeks.
The usual period of time before the decision is issued is approximately, on average, approximately about a month and a half or 2 months. So this depends when you have submitted your application and which course as well.
Exactly.
A number of courses, especially those courses which are capped, might have their decisions later in the year over summer.
Exactly.
Since there's usually a level of shortlisting that needs to be done, and that requires that the application deadline is expired, basically. Exactly. Which is the 20th of July.
Also, for those of you who are applying for master's programs, there are a few courses at master level which do not always reach or attract a sufficient number of eligible students, and because of this we may not always be able to offer them in October, because it could be the case that we only have one applicant, and one applicant is not enough to justify running a whole course for a year. Unfortunately, this sometimes happens. It's very rare, but it happens. And we sometimes have to communicate that a particular master's course is not being offered. This may mean that decisions for such courses are offered a bit later in the year, normally after the July deadline, because our admissions team would be waiting to see how many applicants we have for that course. This applies only to very niche master programs that cover a very specific area of study. So I'm not talking about the MBA or a master in marketing. I'm talking about, I don't know, for one comes to mind, we used to have a Baroque Studies master's program, which was very niche. And unfortunately, we only had one applicant at a point. So it could be that we are taking a bit long to answer you because we want to see how many applicants you have for the course. But rest assured that our admissions team would be in touch with you after the application deadline. There was a question that I wanted to answer. So for those of you who want to find out about the lecturers offering a particular program, as I said before, you can look into the program of studies, which is available through our course finder. So you simply input the name of the course that you are interested in the course finder, and in the overview at the very bottom of the page, you will be able to view the program of studies. For each subject that is available in the program of studies, you can see who will be teaching it throughout the year. Okay.
Someone asking about US qualifications.
Yes, I saw it. For those of you who are following a US system and you do not have APs, to put it simply, we do not normally accept diplomas without APs. But if you have transcripts from a college or a university, what we can do is check for you after you apply. So you would need to apply, provide transcripts in addition to your high school diploma, and your application will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. Unfortunately, we cannot guarantee acceptance, but it is an assessment that needs to take place after you apply. Okay. For Amanda, who's asking about nursing at master level, to my knowledge, Amanda, there's a values-based test, which is relevant only to the BSc in nursing. There should not be any tests related to the master's program unless the faculty decides to call applicants for an interview. However, I do encourage you to take a look at the course regulations, which are available in the course finder, depending on the course that you are looking to apply for or have applied for. And if there is the requirement of a test, it would be listed in the course requirements. But to my knowledge, you do not need a test to join a master's program in nursing, just an interview, which is done at the discretion of the faculty. Okay. Okay.
So perhaps you can get into the accommodation and housing query actually. So yes, I'll share a link with you guys in the chat. We have since a year and a half now, we have on-campus accommodation, which is relatively very convenient. It's located on campus, just 2 minutes away from the center of the campus, away from us. I'll be sending you their website. You can refer to the prices there. In reality, accommodation arrangements for international students here have always been, we've always had international students, so there's the whole surrounding neighborhood of the university, which is very centrally located as well as the university goes, caters for an international student population here. So you can either make arrangements directly with the campus hub, which is our campus accommodation, or otherwise there are private arrangements that our students tend to do, either with room sharing or alternative means of accommodation. In the meantime, I'm going to share the link of the campus hub, so you can refer for the prices and everything else, and availability for next year.
I'm answering some questions.
Yes. In the meantime, we're very quickly trying to deal with all the questions that we have. We've had over 100 questions already, so please bear with us.
For your participation.
And by the way, thank you all for the participation, especially with the poll at the very beginning of the session. I know most of you participated and filled it in. It does help us a great lot to know exactly our audience. So in the meantime, before I share the link with you guys, someone's asking about work opportunities while being a student here.
So you can work up to a maximum of 20 hours part-time a week.
You won't follow the full-time course. You are allowed to work up to part-time hours, which in Malta are 20 hours a week.
Normally students, their jobs vary. There are some students who work in hospitality, so it would be working in restaurants or hotels. Others pursue options exactly something more related to their area of study. You could work with clerical jobs with gaming companies, for examples, or private companies. You could also consider working with English teaching schools, because especially they offer opportunities for work in summer if you decide to remain here. What else? We do have a student council that may be able to suggest work opportunities.
And the different faculties also tend to have a number of sponsors which offer either internships, usually over summer, or work opportunities that will get communicated to you.
From time to time, our council organizes work fair activities on campus, which would help you to
a few times a year,
to find out about possible working opportunities. And yes, you have a lot of options here. The easiest to find are those related to the hospitality industry, because we are very much a tourist-based country, so hospitality is very big here. So those would be the easiest jobs to find. If you want to find something more specific and related to your studies, we would advise speaking to your faculty, and we have a number of student associations which are faculty related, but also there are some other student organizations which work to facilitate student life on campus as well. So
we also offer a post-study visa, which is basically a 6-month extension of the visa after you would be finishing your degree, which is something of benefit usually to our students, especially those of you that might consider settling or finding work here. That is something else that perhaps, you know what we can do actually. Can we share the page with the estimated costs and accommodation costs, and because that is something that we're getting.
Yes, I'm sharing a page with you guys. It contains all the information you need.
We'll share it in the chat as well.
If you want to travel here and study here, basically, let me just go here so I access a page. So this page, which we'll be sharing with you, includes all the information you need in order to come to Malta and study with us. You have information about traveling here, information about visa and the residence permit,
budget,
living costs, which we can go over here. So this is a rough estimate of your potential expenses.
It's been updated actually, so it's relatively accurate.
Exactly. This is based on you sharing with others in terms of accommodation, right? And also it could vary depending on your respective lifestyle. So it's just an indication, but this is what you should expect on a monthly basis if you decide to live locally. As Matthew was saying, the accommodation, which you can see here, we have the campus hub, which is the accommodation on campus, and here you can find out more about availability and prices. You also have some contact information. If you do not decide to live on campus, you can rent privately in the neighboring localities.
That's what we suggest anyway, because in reality...
Yes, I mean, as long as you live in the neighboring localities, which normally include Imsida, which is where we are based. You have Gżira and Slema, which are our most neighboring localities, the connected localities, and they are also connected to very much close to Valletta, which is the city. If you live in the neighboring localities, you can even walk to university or use a bike or a scooter. So they are very close, and rental prices are very much competitive. So you will find similar rates either by living here at the campus hub or even by renting privately.
Well, our campus is also quite well connected.
Exactly.
On the public transport network. So
exactly.
And public network is currently free for residents. So those of you who would be studying here would be able to confirm your residence status and provide the document. You'll be able to apply for free public transport as well.
Exactly. Did you want me to show something specific?
No, I already shared the link. So
okay.
Perhaps you can just...
So guys, visit this page for those of you who will require a visa to come to Malta. You may wish to visit this section. However, we will be going into a lot of detail in relation to this page when we host our webinars for accepted applicants. In the meantime, feel free to go over this page. It's very comprehensive and it will answer most of your questions. There is also a section, because I saw a query for scholarships, if I'm not wrong. Let me see. No, this one. For those of you who are interested in finding out more about our scholarships,
especially for masters,
I will share this link with you in our chat. Scholarships are administered by our international office, and you have a number of options. And our colleagues, should you require any more information in this area, contact us by email and we will connect you with our international office, who will be able to guide you in more detail. Let me go here.
Julia was asking which A-level courses are accepted. Could you perhaps clarify exactly which course you are referring to, which course you're interested in?
Actually, we do have our entry requirements for students following a British A-level system online, and you can read more about it in the UK section. But if you still have more questions after that, let us know.
So the country-specific entry requirements have already been shared in the chat, Julia, so if you'd like to refer to those, you can check over there. So what do I need to finish the foundation year to start a
obviously
Bachelor of
you need
Commerce?
to pass. You need to achieve a minimum pass mark, which normally is 45.
Yes, I believe so, even for foundation.
Our pass mark is between 40 and 45%. To my knowledge, is 45%. Obviously, you need to pass. If you fail study units, you cannot progress to a degree level. If you pass and achieve a 45% grade or better, you can join the Bachelor of Commerce program. Okay. For those of you who will be applying for a bachelor degree after completing our foundation year, please note that you will only receive a letter after your foundation year classification is published. Okay. So I think the question about work, we have already answered it, right?
Pretty much. I think we're
done.
We can wrap this up. I mean, thank you all for having participated.
Yes,
and,
thank you for the questions.
A lot of you, I noticed, have stuck with us till the bitter end.
Yes, thank you very much. We do appreciate you asking
yes.
questions, because by asking questions, you're also helping your peers, and you're also helping us to understand how we can help you better. We are going to close this session for today. As advised, we would really appreciate it if you could visit our socials, and perhaps you could also leave us a little rating or a comment and let us know if we can improve our webinars in any way.
We'll be following this up with, we'll be sharing with you the recording of the session as well as the presentation, where you'll have access to all these links. But yeah, thank you all for participating, really, and for your feedback and for your comments and for your questions. We really appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
And we hope to see a bunch of you submitting your applications and eventually coming.
There is a final question. So our email address is intadmissions. It's here. It's this one here. intadmissions@um.edu.mt. If you forward us, ideally you apply with your documents, because we cannot give you a decision without an application, because an assessment needs to take place, and it will be conducted by our admissions and faculty teams. But if you have any questions, you can send us an email. Guys, you are very welcome. We will be in touch again with another information webinar for applicants next month. And from next month, we will also be organizing our first webinar for accepted applicants. Do keep in touch, and we look forward to meeting you all in October. Take care. Thank you very much.
Have a nice rest of the day.